Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and we have a brand new breakdown on Rohan Browning, and we're starting the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab.
Reach your individual goals.
You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video.
Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become.
All right, so honestly, I really thought that I actually did this breakdown already on Rohan Browning. I definitely downloaded this video before. So, big thing that he did, he came out of nowhere from Australia and ended up winning this event in the Olympics, beat Johan Blake, which was, really came out of nowhere in a lot of places. But, I do want to go into some of the technical things that he does really well, and also some of his technical flaws, and also ways that we could really be able to better measure all the things that really, give us the opportunity to perform at a higher level. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. And the first thing we want to go into is the start, right? And what really stands out, he gets a great initial reaction time there. And I think he does a really good job of, what I wanted to see is, like, as he's going back here, we can see from a lot of different guys, but we're watching Rohan Browning here. You can see how he initiates coming, forward with that arm, right? And really tries to make it so it's much more of like a wrist kind of hand action as he's dropping the shoulder and getting going, with bringing that arm through. And I'm really looking at all these guys, Johan Blake, I think, is another good one to watch. You can see how fast he is with bringing that hand through, and really putting, again, a focus on syncing up the entire arm with that shoulder action as you're coming forward. Now, I do think he had a really nice second step here, was able to get all the way out in front. And another thing that really stands out to me is he has a great ability to hinge within the hip. So as he's landing here, he's kind of shifting onto his left legs a little bit, but he's also hinging really well. We see that with a lot of guys here in a great hinge position with those hips back, right? And as he's transferring through, I think that he gets to a point where some of his compensations end up showing themselves though, right? So he's a little bit rotated within that left side. He doesn't get as good extension within his left shoulder, and that ends up kind of limiting what he can do with that right leg, right? And so now he ends up going much more like straight down with that right leg instead of being able to reach out and pull back, right? And so, I think he got a really great reaction, but really didn't get to optimize that start as well as he could, because he, has a little bit of flaw of, being able to stay horizontal and create horizontal movement, especially in that right leg, which, is limiting what his top speed potential is. I think is because, that limitation that you end up having within a certain joint within, like the hamstring joint, maybe it's part of the lower back, one of those erectors, there's something that's kind of limiting what he could do within that reach of that right side, especially when he's in more of a spine flex position. And a lot of times that ends up coming from, some type of lack of range, and it could be starting from the shoulder as well. That's the big thing, is like the body is, there's so many things that will play a part in, what creates stiffness and what creates, good range of motion. And so, you want to be able to test it. This is what's important about, watching yourself as you're running, is and being able to set up performance metrics, right? We talk a lot about the main performance metrics, right? This is something that is super important. Foot contact time, turnover rate, and distance per step, right? You got to understand what those are for you, so then you have certain measurements that you can then test to see, what works and what doesn't work. If you're not able to, find out this type of information or test this type of information, then the likelihood of you staying at the same speed is a lot greater. So we want to be able to set up performance metrics for us to really be able to have a lot of improvement as we're, going forward and trying to get faster. Now, when he gets to his top speed, he has such a great turnover, right? He's so coordinated with the arms, so coordinated with the legs, and really look to see, how well he's able to drive through with those arms and how in sync the arms and the legs are. And you really want to be able to work on that, right? Really work on how well you're able to get to your top speed and hold that top speed. I see a lot of athletes, when they get to their top speed, have a hard time maintaining that position, right? Whether it's posture, whether it's arm swing, whether it's leg turnover rate, whether it's landing position with the foot and the hip. And, obviously these guys are the best in the world. So these guys have been training for years to be able to get to this point. But, and I think there's a lot of people that watch this that have been training for years and, are still able to make improvements in terms of their sequencing, right? If you're not getting faster, or, if you're struggling to make improvements within your speed, you really got to work on that sequencing to either, speed up the arms, shorten up the arms, speed up the legs, shorten up the legs, figure out what we need to do with your foot contact time to now make it so you could actually make measurable progress. You got to try these things out, right? You got to try to make technique changes and form changes in order to make it so now you could actually see what's working and what's not working. If you're not making any technique changes, the likelihood of you making improvements is, again, not as good. And don't just think by working on starts or working on drive that, or your drive phase, your top end speed phase, that you're going to make changes. The changes have to be very, very intentional, and they should be really big. They should be something that really makes a big difference in your stride rate in order to make it so then you could see measurable improvements. Right, but we can see, right arm pulls back differently than the left arm. He's really limited in rotation to the left side, and therefore he has to overcompensate by creating more external rotation within that right leg. So when he's landing on this right leg, he's really turning out to the side, and he still has good foot contact time overall. He pushes off that back leg. He has excellent extension, and he's very efficient with those backside mechanics. So as he's pushing off, he drives those knees through really effectively. I love that left leg, though. His left leg is his true, the leg that really helps him being able to be who he is in terms of, top Australian sprinter. Has a lot has to do with his left leg and how fast he's able to cycle through there. Right, and so you've got to be able to, at least have one leg that's super strong. I do think he could do a better job of reaching out in front rather than coming straight up, especially with that left arm, right? Because if you're going to be going and pulling off to the side with one of your arms, then you definitely don't want to be getting too, vertical with that action, right? So if you're getting too vertical and then he's pulling back off to the side, those movements are going to be counteracting. Right, so he should be going and really trying to reach more out, especially with that left arm, to make it so then when he pulls back, he's able to coordinate better through the core and through the hips. Now, that's something that you'd want to be able to test out. There's a few things that he could test out here, right? One would be not pulling so far out with the left side, right? Another would be being able to work on creating better rotation through the spine. Like, to me, I think that he needs to work on having plenty of range through both parts of his thoracic spine, lower spine, to be able to rotate better and therefore generate more force. I think he's limited in what he could do within his left side, which is why he relies much more on the shoulder and the lat, which he also is not, from a biomechanical perspective, not utilizing the best he can. But his legs are really good, other than a slight turnoff on the right side, but that's, something that's going to be somewhat necessary, but we do want to be able to build up that upper body. I do think sprinters don't put as much focus on what's going on within the upper body and how that's correlated, and it ends up, kind of creating some degree of a plateau. And so, he could still work on being able to get, again, more extension within that left arm, more effective extension within that left arm, and better rotation overall within the spine. I think that would really end up benefiting him, a lot. And you want to be able to test this stuff out. When you're looking at the time, though, when his foot hits the ground, it's at 11.633, which is good, and he's off by, 0.733. So he's got, good turnover rate. I'm going to go back to, and he's landing at about 12.03 here, right? So he's somewhere between a 0.3 to 0.33 turnover time. So those are all elite levels, right? Those are all great points that he's able to hit from a sprinting perspective, right? These are all numbers that we want to be able to look at. Let's see this one. He's closer to 267 here, 2.267. I'll just put that. He's off by 0.367, so he's still, same thing, under 0.1 in terms of foot contact time. And again, if you guys don't know these numbers, I don't know what you guys are doing. You definitely should be very, very connected to this. He's a little bit slower with his left leg, it seems like, right? So he's at 0.33, right? So that just means that with his right leg, he's probably not picking up as much distance. He could probably pick up more distance per step on his right foot if he was able to, more effectively get into the right spine range, into the right hamstring range, and really be able to optimize how well he's able to utilize that left arm, right? So it's like your left arm is correlated with your upper left core, and then your right leg, your right upper core, right? And then all the way down through. So there's like a sling that goes all the way through there. And there's the same thing that's happening on the other side. So it's left leg, left upper lower core, left lower core, and then you have the right upper core, and then you have the right arm. We're all going to be working together when you're going through. And then you're going to have obviously like your midline and some of those muscles that are going to be, controlling overall posture. Those are going to be like, you know, parts of the inner adductors. That's going to be like your TVA, your abdominals, your erectors, the neck muscles. Like those are going to be working on either side, right? But there's certain parts of your body that are going to be more focused. You know, when you're utilizing your left leg, you're going to be much more in tune with your right arm when, you know, you're utilizing your left leg, right? And it's the same thing with the other side, right? Your right leg and your left arm, you know, are working very, very synergistically together. So all those muscles have to be, you know, effective. And if there's not an effectiveness going on there, you can start to locate it and start to improve it and see how that makes a difference within your actual running. And then, you know, from there you can keep on building and keep on getting faster. So, you know, this is what we're doing within the program. This is what we're doing within the breakdowns. This is what's going to totally change the game, I think, from a sprinting perspective over a period of time. You know, I'm just getting started here, really starting to be able to test out a lot of these theories. But I've been seeing great results. And so, you know, we're going to keep on doing it. We're going to keep on helping people and whoever wants to get helped in improving their speed. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. Like the video if it helped you out. Subscribe to the channel. You know, check out the description for all the different things that we have for, you know, programs. I highly recommend the speed breakdown. It's really not that expensive, and I do think it could provide a lot of you know, value for you and really give you some eye-opening understanding of, you know, what you need to be working on and how you could actually make those changes. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.